The following video concerns a piece of software that is a client for a video game called Rust Legacy or Rust 2013 static map. We'll be talking about rustrome, RustRelic, Rust Legacy, Rust V25, specific naming for some reason, and rustuj.cz. These are client versions of what was originally just called Rust. The game originally started off being a website, playrust.com, I do believe, and it would install in your browser by using a game engine that could make web-based games. This was a massively multiplayer game and I mean massive with a capital M, because it had a map that was so big that most people stuck to only 1/16 of it. It's where most of the development happened, and honestly, it's where almost everything was. Now, I'm going to be evaluating the different clients that are currently available, and only just the ones I've mentioned, based on the following. There's only a few features in it. Number one, no matter which version you get, except with some exceptions, if you have the server ID code, otherwise known as the IP address, which is just basically a web address with a set of numbers at the end called a port number, you could run a routine in the game by loading it, hitting a button on the keyboard, F1 specifically apparently, that's the one that's on mine, and you could put in a command line where it would be net.connect, and then you'd put in the web address or IP address as it keeps getting called. IP address is kind of inaccurate, but let's move on. That makes it to where you can play the game, and also if you edit a specific config file, you can put in that exact command, and depending on the version you download, it will auto-jump to that server, eliminating the need to even use a menu. And on that point, some of the versions, actually it's only just one currently, has a menu. Now originally the game came with a menu that would show you modded, not modded, community, whatever, fun things. When they stopped supporting it, people had to add in their own. Lots of websites list reviews and links to all the different servers for modern Rust, but by sorting also Rust Map 2013, called Rust Island 2013, you can find the same server lists. And it's the same list they used to use. So, a modern remake of this sometimes contains a little config file that says, look up on these websites all of these different listings. And some of the clients I'm bringing up, okay, all of them, lack that ability, which is unnecessary. And also, again, an add-on of a pop-up map was added to the game at one point. And the version I'm going to refer to has a static version of just that 1/16 of the map, and you're a dot moving around on it. And once you go above a certain point, you disappear because you're not on the map and the map is worthless. So first we're going to bring up the one I'm talking about that I'm basing this on. And it is apparently based on the last set of hacks and such that were official that added a map to the game as indicated by the company that built this program, and the server menu. This is a 0.98 gigabyte installed, after it's installed on your computer, set of files from rustlegacy.eu. There's a 2013 version of it that doesn't include a map capability. That's before the map capability was added. And there's a 2015 and also a 2014 version, if you dig, that both have the map and the server menu. And the server menu does work under the 2013 version, but because it says it's a specific version number, it lists only the version that's supposed to work with it. That's the one that had zombies and cars, but it's listing a ghost listing because there's no server that works with it anymore, which is sad. I'd like to play that one just to have a cool video to do. But anyway, the 2014 and 2015 versions still include server menu links that work, unless they don't. As of now, on the website rustlegacy.eu, it now indicates that same list you'll probably get, and whether or not it requires a completely different version. Be warned, only one of them requires it that comes up in the list. But we're dealing with other versions that have been made for specific servers that don't get put on that list when you hit the menu for servers. So let's talk about those. But again, the rustlegacy.eu 2015 version has a little pop-up map, which I can edit. I'm going to try to make a better version and submit it. That's static. that you move around as a dot, and it has a menu that comes up that shows you all the servers that are supposed to work with it, and also ones that don't. There's only one. Let's move on. At slightly smaller, at 0.97 gigabytes instead of 0.98 gigabytes, so it's 10 megabytes smaller, is the rustuj.cz version. It doesn't have a map or server menu. It's a real downloadable zip file. It's extractable. That's important. One that comes in as an executable is fine, but if you right-click it and send it to an unzipper and it rips it open for you, you can then check it for viruses. Also, it's presumed if you can rip it open, your virus scanner can look inside of it and locate a virus. That's a very big, important thing. And they offer one download of this client that'll do that. Now, all of the rustuj.cz servers that are currently available, there are 3 of them, 2 of them work fine with the above-mentioned universal one with a map and a listing. But one of them, ironically listed as vanilla, meaning the most generic possible, requires you download their special version. And I'm not saying that me mentioning that they didn't have a zip file version might have changed their behavior, but now there's a zip file version and I was able to test it. It's fine, no viruses coming up. It doesn't even complain about it. Unlike the previous mentioned one from rustlegacy.eu, where it complains, but it's literally just the hack to make the game work. That's all. It's not a virus, but it labels it as being concerning. But anyway, back to the rustuj.cz. For this modded client, it's only needed for one that's labeled vanilla as a server. And it didn't automatically jump to that one. And it doesn't have a menu so you can find it. So you go into the config directory, look up the user config file, there's only one of them, and at the end of it you put in net.connect space ms.rustuj.cz :28025. And it works fine. And it has a pixel drain version, I'm going to include a link to, that's just a zip file. You unzip it and you can check it for viruses. There's nothing wrong with it. And it's smaller. But it's missing it doesn't bring up the menu, and it doesn't bring up the map. So, I'm going to try to do a video later, if I can. If I don't do it, then I couldn't figure it out. To add in that menu. I think it's possible to do so. Because this one is so similar, it's literally labeled the same as the one from Rust Legacy. They just moved a couple of characters. Really? So yeah, I'm pretty sure I can edit it and make it to where it brings up a menu. But as for adding the map, I don't know if I can do that, but I'm going to try. So anyway, let's move on. At 1 full gigabyte, we get Rust version 25, or it's actually just called Rust V25. That just means it says it's Rust 2025 update version. It's from 2019. This doesn't have a map or server menu. It's completely generic. There's nothing added to it. It's supposed to have the ability to load up servers that have extra models and extra textures, but I couldn't really find anywhere to test it because when you download it, number one, 90% of the downloads are virus installers only that don't even give you the file. My computer's able to fend that off, but I don't want to put you through that. But if you find the one that's a RAR file, R-A-R file, and it says by Nitro UX1, that one isn't virused. And again, it works fine. Nothing weird about it. And again, I can tell it to run net.connect anything I want to by putting it in that text file, and it'll auto-run that server, and it works fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But it's bigger, and again, it doesn't include the map, and it doesn't have the server menu. So we're seeing a pattern here. Now let's look at rustrome.ru. This thing fought me tooth and nail. It's at 1.3 gigabytes when it's finished being extracted, and I had to make it the executable into an extractable by manually tearing apart the file. I used a couple of tools to get it open, and the rest of it was building my own installer. They went way above and beyond trying to make this a pain in the ass when it's just the same damn thing, except it doesn't have a server menu either. Okay, again, we're seeing a pattern here. But it doesn't just have a map that's a static picture where you're a dot moving around. It has a map that moves and leaves you mostly in the center, and it gives you not a map that's a picture. And it has it to where when you hit the map button, it takes what you're looking at, has you look straight down and pop up in the air about, I think it's about a mile, and look down at the map and just look at it. You're literally looking at the server. Now, this is some long-lost voodoo, okay? This was actually an add-on that somebody built at one time, along with a static PNG map. And the static PNG map is very outdated, so I can steal this information, because I can just screen grab it, and build a better map. So I'm going to do that as a project. Problems. rustrome.ru has an insane amount of lag. The map function disappears because it is essentially kind of a third-person view hack that wasn't supposed to be part of the game. So it gets disabled very easily. It crashes. I managed to crash it only once, but we have to say technically it crashes. But more importantly, if you try to log back in, it turns off the map. And it doesn't have a menu server. The server menu doesn't show up anything. It's missing. So again, that last thing, adding in entries for the server menu, if I could figure out how to do it, this would improve all of them. Because then you could, all of these modded versions are downward compatible with the older maps. They don't seem to have a problem. And at 1.3 gigabytes instead of 0.98 gigs, yeah, having that live map is a good thing. It might cover your screen. It's transparently obvious that it's a third-person view jacked up in the air and looking straight down, but that's cool. But then again, I'm going to make something a little bit like it. If I can find a way, I might even improve that one and put it on the generic one that may be generic. But again, even getting screen grabs from it interferes a lot. It's doing a lot of dynamic stuff. And is it an improvement or an add-on or anything? People can build other monuments with newer add-ons and newer things from the server. These improved or modded versions of the clients add some real value. I've seen another one I can't find anymore that added in some really cool stuff, but the servers disappeared and that version flew away. And no one leaves documentation on how to add in these mods on your computer for your client-side program for the client. Dear rustrome.ru, now that I've made a new extractor, you might want to just do it the way I do. Give us the ability to add in that map. And on the others, whatever mods you come up with, can you just release them? And then there's RustRelic.eu. Yes, I did an experiment with it, but I can't force extract it. I did it within a virtual machine kind of thing to force it to extract at one time. I got it to work for a while. Okay, fine. I can't recommend it because I can't prove that it's safe for you to download at any one time because they don't make it extractable. But it includes even more crazy-ass mapping stuff. And I'm not even listing how big it is. I don't trust it. And the developers and or users of various versions of this, especially for RustRelic, came by and threatened me with takedowns and other things, like telling me they were going to talk smack about me. I don't really think talking smack is going to affect a Rust player, but okay. But yeah, getting mad at me for pointing out that you have a Trust Me Bro installer and I won't trust you, bro. Bad form. And again, rustrome.ru comments underneath the videos at one point said they were going to put out a zip version. They didn't. But hey, rustuj.cz. You put out your modded client as a zip finally. And I'm apparently the reason for some of this, including on rustlegacy.eu, it telling you whether or not it's a modded server that requires a specific downloadable client. Anyway, that's it for today, and I'm going to probably have to figure out how to add in the server menu entries and auto-update for that, and maybe find a way to make the maps work better, or make a better version for the static one, and maybe make this dynamic third-person view looking down map exported for every other copy. I don't know. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. I'll need it